NFL fans, welcome back to another episode of the J All Day Sports Show. Today, I want to go over Week 9 predictions versus the spread. We did okay against the spread last week. We went 8, 7, and 1. The spread's been tough this year for sure because our money line picks, we went 12 and 4 last week. So our money line straight up bets have been crushing it. That's why you got to like and subscribe to the channel. I'm going to try to be a little bit better against the spread this week. If we could be over 500 versus the spread for the year, I'm happy with that. Considering how crazy the NFL has been this year. All right, let's get into Week 9 picks versus the spread. Week 9 starts off with a Thursday night game. Houston Texans on the road taking on the Jets. Somehow the Jets, who have lost 5 games in a row, are somehow 1.5 point favorites. I don't know. I do not know, but I'm going with the Texans and the points. Diggs did tear his ACL. He's done for the year, but they still have Tank Dell and Robert Woods. They also have Joe Mixon. And remember, the Jets have been eviscerated by the run this year. I look for Joe Mixon to have probably over 5 catches, over 100 yards on the ground. If I am the Texans, I'm game planning to run the ball down the Jets' throat. I think they're able to do that. CJ Stroud is just better than Aaron Rodgers. It's like not even debatable at this point. Aaron Rodgers are going to be 41 soon. I think he's cooked. We're going with the Texans and the 1.5 points. Next up, kicking off the Sunday slate, we have the Broncos at the Ravens. I'm taking the Broncos and the 9 points all day long. Listen, this Ravens defense is not the defense of years past. It's just not. They were terrible last week against the Browns. Jameis Winston lit them up. I think he had over 300 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and that's with a very lackluster run game and receivers that nobody even knows their name. This Ravens defense is not very good at all whatsoever, and this is what's going to hold them back from a potential Super Bowl appearance. I'm taking the Broncos. And Bo Nix, who had 3 touchdowns last week. He's getting better and better each week. He uses his legs. Him and Courtland Sutton are doing a really good job together. Next up on the slate, we have the Miami Dolphins on the road traveling to Buffalo. The Dolphins looked better last week. They did still lose to the Arizona Cardinals. And the Bills absolutely blew the brakes off the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle, right? So who wins this game? I think Buffalo wins this game. But I'm going to go with the Miami Dolphins and the 6 points. I think this is going to be a close-ish game, like a 24-20, 24-23 type of game. So that's why I'm going to go with the Dolphins. Tua in week 2 coming back. He's going to be a little more comfortable. I like that offense. The Bills' offense also looks really good with the addition of Amari Cooper, who was a little absent in last week's game, but it just opens up the offense for the other players, right? I'm going with the Dolphins and the 6 points. All right, next up, we got a division game. Washington Commanders at the Jets. Only a 4-point spread. I'm going with the Commanders all day long and the -4 points. I'll give the Giants 4 points all day long. The Giants played pretty good last week. They played tough against Pittsburgh, but they just continue to make tons of mistakes, a lot of pre-snap penalties. It looks like Tyron Tracy's probably not going to play in this game. He's in concussion protocol, so I don't expect him to play. It's going to be Devin Singletary at the running back spot. They got Malik Nabers, and I do like Dexter Lawrence and Brian Burns, but Jaden Daniels is really good at recognizing the blitz and getting rid of the ball quickly. That's why I'm going with the Commanders and the -4 points. All right, next up, we got the Raiders and the Bengals, right? Big spread, 7 points. I think the Bengals can cover it. The Raiders just look completely dysfunctional. I rewatched that game yesterday. Just so many penalties, bad turnovers. Gardner Minshew is just a turnover machine. They played the Chiefs tough, but a lot of self-inflicted wounds. And the Bengals, this is a do-or-die spot, especially at home, in my opinion. I think they can win this game by a touchdown. I'm taking the Bengals -7. All right, next up, we got the Cowboys and the Falcons. I'm going with the Falcons at home, -3. That offense is really humming along. Kirk Cousins is doing a great job getting Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, Mooney, and Drake London involved. The offense looks pretty good behind a pretty good offensive line as well. I think the Falcons easily cover the 3 points. That might be my bet of the week, right? The Cowboys are just completely dysfunctional. They can't do anything on offense. And then their defense is like bottom 5 in every single category. They give up tons of yards on the ground. I expect Bijan Robinson to eat in this game. I'm taking the Falcons and the -3 points. Next up, this game's going to be really fun to watch. Chargers at the Browns. Jameis Winston back in his second game. We'll see if this magic can continue with the Cleveland Browns. Because remember, the Browns still have a pretty good defense led by Denzel Ward and Myles Garrett. They've been pretty solid all year long. Not as good as they were last year, but a solid unit. But the Chargers offense is really starting to come along. Ladd McConkey and Herbert. Herbert is like one of the toughest, most underrated quarterbacks in the NFL, in my opinion. And if they can get another receiver involved, not named Ladd McConkey, this offense can be pretty good. Oh, man, I'm going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I'm going to go with the Chargers and the -1.5 points. I think they win this game. If they only win by 1, so be it. But I like the Chargers in this spot, probably by a field goal. Then we got the Saints at the Panthers. The Panthers haven't covered a spread all year except for once in their one win this year. Derek Carr is coming back, but remember, that offense is still riddled with injuries, but I think Derek Carr's leadership is going to be enough. It looks like Bryce Young will be starting again for the Panthers. I like the Saints to cover the 7 points because the Panthers just lose by the spread every single week. I'm going with the trend, Saints and the -7. Then we have the Dumpster Fire Bowl, the Patriots at the Titans, the Battle of the Bums. This game is going to be very, very tough to watch. You might want to burn out your retinas before you watch this game because that's how bad it's going to be. Titans are -3.5 point favorites. I'm taking the Patriots and the 3.5 points. If the Titans win, it's going to be by the skin of their teeth, probably, in my opinion. But remember, the Titans' defense is very good. One of the best third down units, one of the best red zone units. So I think this is going to be a field goal-ish game. A lot of field goals, not a lot of points, like a 17-13, 14-10, 13-10 type of situation. But I think the Patriots could outright win this game. That's why I'm going to take them and the 3.5 points. Jaguars at the Eagles. 7.5 points is a big spread in my opinion. But the Jaguars offense is decimated by injuries. Christian Kirk broke his collarbone. He's out of this game. Earlier in the week, both Brian Thomas Jr. and Gabe Davis were questionable. Gabe Davis with the shoulder, and then Brian Thomas Jr. has like a chest contusion, so I don't know if they're going to play. We'll have to wait to see when the injury reports are released on Friday. But I'm going to go with the Eagles and the 7.5 points because I think this Jaguars offense is just way too banged up to beat this Eagles team that's playing really well right now. 3 wins in a row. Jalen Hurts has also had no turnovers in the last 3 games, right? So I'm taking the Eagles and the 7.5. The next game is one of my favorite games of the week. We have the Bears traveling on the road to the Arizona Cardinals. Obviously, the Bears lost that heartbreaker on that tip ball, the last throw of the game. Hopefully, the Bears learn from that situation because they were talking a lot of trash and ended up losing the game. They got a huge slice of humble pie, right? And Caleb Williams was awful last week. I'm not a big believer in Eberflus or their offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron. Them handing the ball off to a fullback / backup offensive lineman at the 1-yard line with all those weapons is the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my life. I can't even believe that happened. I'm taking the Cardinals and the 1.5 points because they're just better coached. I like their offense a little bit better, and I like the quarterback better. So I'm taking the Cardinals 1.5 points at home. That seems like a steal to me. I'm circling that bet at -108. All right, Detroit Lions at the Packers. Woo, baby. Who's going to win this game? Packers, Lions. Packers fans, Lions fans, let me know in the comments below. Is your team going to get the W? I've been going back and forth on this game. The Lions on the road, playing outside in Lambeau. Remember, Jared Goff is not the best quarterback outside, right? So I'm taking the Packers in the 3.5 points. I think the Lions probably win this game, but it might only be by a point or two. So I'm going with the Packers at home plus 3.5 points. But if Jordan Love does not play, I'm going to switch it to the Lions in the -3.5. It looks like he's trending towards playing. He had a knee injury earlier, now a groin issue, so he's got to be better. If he wants to win this game, he's got to stop the turnovers. But Detroit Lions secondary is beatable, and we all know the Packers have a great young stable of wide receivers. So I'm going to go with the Packers at home plus 3.5. Rams, Seahawks. I'm taking the Rams and -1.5 all day long. I already got a money line bet on the Rams this week. Coming in at -120 is a no-brainer. They blew the brakes off the Vikings last week, and that was the first week the band was back together. The Seahawks are so hit and miss. They got a mediocre defense at best. Metcalf is still dealing with that MCL sprain in his knee. The offensive line is a dumpster fire, and the Rams have a pretty good D-line. So I'm going with the Rams -1.5 all day long. Then the Sunday night game should have been the Packers-Lions, but somehow is the Colts versus the Vikings. All right, Anthony Richardson got benched. Joe Flacco is at the helm. But the Vikings have a very good defense. I think Cashman, the linebacker, will be back in this spot. That's huge for that defense. And I look for them to bounce back. They've lost 2 games in a row. They need to win this game at home. I'm taking the Minnesota Vikings and -5. Addison, Justin Jefferson. We'll have to see if Hawkinson's going to play. It seems like it's been like 4 weeks in a row. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? They need him back in that offense to give another layer to defenses. All right, I'm going with the Minnesota Vikings -5 points. Next up, guys, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the road against the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs really haven't beat a lot of teams by over 8 points, so I'm taking the Buccaneers and the 8.5. The Raiders played them really tough last week, and the Buccaneers, even without Godwin and Evans, are dramatically better than the Raiders. This Chiefs team makes a lot of mistakes. We're starting to see the drops. Xavier Worthy with a lot of drops last week. Kelsey had a big game last week. Can that continue? They did bring in DeAndre Hopkins, so that's going to help, especially on third down in that offense. He's a reliable guy on third down, DeAndre Hopkins is, right? So I'm going to take the Buccaneers plus 8.5. That's a big point spread. I think the Buccaneers are in play for a teaser as well. I think there's a lot of teams in play for teasers. If you do 5 teams, you can do the Sweetheart teaser and get like plus 13 points. So that would be the Buccaneers getting like over 20, the Jaguars getting 20. You know what I mean? Some of these big spreads. The Raiders getting 20, Dolphins getting 19, the Broncos getting 22. I mean, the teasers, there's some big teaser spreads that are available to us this week if you're interested in doing 1 or 2 little teaser bets. If you're interested in sports betting, join my memberships. You get all my bets, $4.99 a month. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We just hit 10K. Thank you so much. Peace.